All right, so you've been there, right? You're in a brainstorming session, the energy is amazing, the walls are covered in sticky notes, but then what? There's no clear next step. If that sounds familiar, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to tackle one of the absolute biggest challenges in product design. How do you get from a mountain of ideas down to the one that's actually worth building? You know, I've seen this exact pattern at every single company I've worked for, whether it's a tiny startup or a giant tech company. Teams are brilliant at coming up with ideas, but when it comes to making a decision, they're just terrible at it. They get caught up thinking all that activity is progress, but what they end up with is just a room full of colorful paper and a product that never actually ships. And this slide, wow, it just perfectly captures the two paths you can take. On one side, you've got the expensive way. This is the path that leads to those big, spectacular failures we've all heard about, like Juicero or Quibi. They build first and just hope for the best. And on the other side, you've got the lean way. This is what successful products do. They learn before they build. It's all about turning what could be a 6-month, multi-million-dollar failure into a cheap, one-week experiment.
So what's really going on here? What's the root cause of this decision paralysis? It really all comes down to two very different and often conflicting ways of thinking. We call them diverging and converging.
Diverging. Okay, that's the fun part, right? It's this creative explosion where every single idea is a good idea, and it feels really productive because you're just generating all these possibilities. But converging, whew, that's where the real work begins. It means making really tough choices, saying no to some genuinely good ideas, and focusing only on what truly, truly matters. And honestly, this is the moment of truth where I see most teams just completely fall apart.
So how do the best product teams get through this? How do they navigate this challenge? Well, they definitely don't rely on gut feelings or listen to whoever has the loudest voice in the room. They use frameworks. They use them to bring some real objectivity into the decision-making process. Let's dig into a few, but we'll start with a really common mistake.
So many teams just default to dot voting. I mean, it seems democratic, doesn't it? Everybody gets a few little sticker dots to vote on their favorite ideas. But what happens in reality is that it just turns into a popularity contest. The idea from the most senior person in the room or the most charismatic presenter, that's what wins. It's not necessarily the best idea. Senior teams know this, which is why they use frameworks that dig way deeper and uncover the real risks.
Your goal here is to be ruthless. I mean it. You want to kill 95% of your ideas as fast and as cheaply as you possibly can. Because when you do that, you can pour all of your energy and all of your resources into that top 5%, the ones that have the real potential to be game changers. So let's start with a really simple but powerful tool for making that first big cut.
The impact versus effort matrix. It's a classic for a reason. It's just a super simple way to get a high-level view of all your options. You plot your ideas based on how much value they bring to the user versus how much effort they'll take to build. Now those quick wins in the top left, that's your low-hanging fruit. But here's a pro tip. Don't only chase the quick wins. Your major projects up in the top right, those are often the real game changers. The key is to find a balance, so you keep momentum while still investing in the future.
But look, prioritizing based on impact and effort is really just the first step. The real secret weapon of senior product thinkers, it's a framework that attacks the single biggest reason why products fail, and that reason is untested assumptions.
So what is an assumption? It's simply something you believe to be true, but you don't actually have any hard evidence to back it up. These are the silent killers of products. Why? Because they feel so obviously true to you and your team that it never even occurs to you to question them. And trust me, we all have them.
For example, right? You might assume that Gen Z is totally willing to pay $9 a month for your new budgeting app. Or you might assume that users will trust you enough to connect their bank accounts to your service. If you're wrong about these fundamental things, it doesn't matter one bit how beautiful your UI is, your product is dead on arrival.
And this is where assumption mapping comes in. It's brilliant. You take all of your assumptions and you plot them on this matrix. Just look at the axes for a second. The vertical one is how uncertain you are about it. The horizontal one is the impact if you're wrong. Now, look at that top right quadrant. This is the danger zone. The assumptions that land here, the ones that are high impact and high uncertainty, those are your priority tests. These are the product killers, and you need to validate them before anyone writes a single line of code.
Now, using frameworks like this requires a huge mindset shift. It's not easy, especially for us designers. We're trained to fall in love with our own ideas. But to be a truly great product designer, you have to learn how to, as they say, kill your darlings.
So how do you actually do that? How do you detach from your own ideas? Well, the key is to shift your entire identity. You have to stop thinking like an artist who's all precious about their creation and start thinking like a scientist who's dispassionate about their hypothesis.
It's a three-step process. First, stop calling it your idea and start calling it a hypothesis. It's not your precious baby, okay? It's just your best guess right now. Second, your job isn't to prove yourself right. No, your job is to actively try to prove yourself wrong. And third, you have to do this as fast and as cheap as you possibly can.
And look, you don't need a fully built product to test these assumptions, not at all. You can use something called a smoke test, which is basically a landing page for a product that doesn't exist yet, just to see if people will sign up. Or you could run a Wizard of Oz test, where you manually fake an automated experience from behind the scenes. Or you can just put a simple, low-fidelity prototype in front of 5 users. You would be absolutely amazed at how much you can learn from just a few short conversations.
And you know, this all leads to the fundamental difference between a junior and a senior product thinker. And listen, it's not about how many years of experience you have, it is all about your mindset.
A UI designer is focused on how things should look and feel. But a senior product designer, they're focused on what problem we are actually trying to solve and what our riskiest assumptions are. Your job isn't just to make things pretty. Your job is to reduce uncertainty and help the team build the right thing.
So, what are the big takeaways from all this? Let's break it down. First, ideas are cheap. Decisions are what's valuable. Second, always test your riskiest assumption first. Don't just design the easiest screen. And third, and this is so important, your goal is not to be right. Your goal is to learn what's right as quickly as you can. And this quote, this says it all. If you are truly, deeply in love with the problem your users are facing, then you'll be willing to kill any solution, even your absolute favorite one, if the evidence shows it's not the right path. Your loyalty has to be to the user, not to your idea.
So I'll leave you with this one question to take back to your own projects. Think about it. What's the one assumption that you're making right now that could completely kill your product? Go find it, test it, and then you can build with real confidence. Thanks for watching.